wanted to ask you about military intervention and war and all that stuff. I know that you are one of the biggest opponents of the U.S. getting involved overseas. And I'm curious your thoughts on where we've gone since you were in Congress. Has it gotten worse, and what your views are?
Well, the principle has gotten much worse. They've endorsed the principle, and the big thing was probably one that is annoying to me was because I remember it, and that was we had World War I and World War II, and we went through the process of declaring war and having an enemy, and it did. I think they could have been avoided, but it was done the right way in the sense that we declared the war, and the wars didn't last that long. We were only a year or so on World War I, and World War II is 3 years. Think of how that was taken care of. But after the war, and I remember this issue very clearly because it was in 51, when Truman said, he never probably made an announcement. We have to have a police action. We have to go and preserve democracy for Korea. And my comparison was, and look, we wanted to do that in South Korea, and we lose 60,000 people and kill millions of the Vietnamese and all this, and then we lose, and we walk away, lost all this money and all these lives. And what happened? Was there these are just realistic arguments, but was there the domino effect? That's what we were preached to. Your domino effect. Communism is going to take over, and they did a lot of that. But guess what? When we lost the war in Vietnam, we left, and all of a sudden something weird happened. They started acting like capitalists. and just think of all we won in peace versus all that we lost in war. And sometimes people won't even think of the slightest consideration that maybe a little bit of that philosophy could be applied to those people who are looking forward to a war with China.
I feel like it's like a Chinese finger trap. That you've got so many people who want war, and they make the argument, we need to go there to stop Russia, we need to go there to stop the terrorists. But in doing these things, in engaging in foreign intervention, it's creating recoil or creating blowback, and it's making the conflicts worse.
That's by design. I mean, that's what keeps the machine running. That's what keeps the money flowing. We talk about the Fed all the time. The Fed is what makes war possible. It's what makes the empire possible. And it's funny because you sit around and you laugh at the domino theory. Oh man, that's like something out of the 60s. We're living in it right now. If we don't stop Russia in Ukraine, they're going to be marching through Paris. Tomorrow they're going to take Estonia. Where's Estonia? I have no idea, but they're going to take it. I heard it on TV. So we still believe in the domino theory. It's still the basis of our foreign policy. In fact, who was it? It was a politician. It actually may have been McCarthy, Speaker of the House, and I could be wrong, who said, well, we got to fight them. Basically, he literally said we got to fight them over there because otherwise we're going to fight them over here. I mean, I thought the Bush era was over.
Right.
So these things are just regurgitated because they're enormously profitable to the most well-connected people,
The only value I see in foreign intervention is that fascism sometimes can be extremely peaceful. That's one of the worst things about fascism is it's insidiously quiet. I mean, modern fascism, it's capitalist. They run your social media. They make you see things you don't understand. And so at some point, if you don't do anything, it will just happen around you.
Let me try to elaborate on what I think what you're saying is what we're seeing with big tech, what we're seeing with the establishment, this authoritarian takeover, subverting our systems, buying people out, and slowly creeping in and taking things over. Is that?
Yeah, BlackRock, these right. Mega corporations that are buying land and things like that's it's happening in the name of peace because it's being done with dollars. But
I don't know if fascism is the right word because some people might take the word fascism literally. But we're seeing, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, corporatism. They're buying everything up. They're using the system against us and exploiting it. And it's not just that. These big hedge funds and firms, they're getting Federal Reserve money, basically infinitely printed and given to them to do this. So it's the lucrative, I guess fascism is probably the right way to say it, the lucrative merger of corporation and state to take over the whole system.
Under Mussolini's definition, and I think you are correct in some instances there, especially with a lot of these institutions like BlackRock having lucrative contracts now in Ukraine. There's a lot of business deals. There's a lot of politicians, sons and daughters who have a lot of interests in that particular region. But I kind of wanted to ask both of you guys, if you guys were the Secretary of State, how do you handle the Ukraine situation right now? What's the call to action?
Well, I have a real easy thing to do. It's not complex, and everybody will understand it, but nobody will do it because I used it in my debates. How are we going to end the wars in the Middle East? Yeah, we've sort of come around to your position. We should have done it, but here we are. We're here now. And my answer is we just marched in. We can just march out.
Yes.
And
I remember you had a statement where you said if someone is given the wrong prescription, you don't just keep giving them the same prescription. You stop.
That sounds pretty good. Did I say that?
You did say that. Yes, it was brilliant. I heard that and I said, I don't see it any other way. If we all agree it's wrong, we just stop.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that they've been prescribed crack cocaine and heroin and fentanyl all mixed into one, and they're high as a kite, and they're doing really horrible things, especially with what's happening in Ukraine right now. There's so many innocent Ukrainians dying. There's so many innocent young men dying in that specific region. And I think, the main reason we didn't blow each other up during the Cold War was because of negotiations, was because we were able to actually sit at the table and negotiate. We're not even doing that now, which is just absurd and crazy in my opinion.
I asked him last night what he would do, and he was like, "Well, we'd take our troops out and negotiate some sort of economic, resolution with Russia." And I don't know, Ron, do you think that would be ethical to? Because I think what they're trying to do is take Sevastopol, the warm water trade port in the Black Sea.
Yeah. But what happens when there's sincere efforts, either with China or Russia, that we could pursue? The deep state, which is not Republican, not Democrat, they're deep into controlling the whole system. They make it so that you become a heathen, you become a Nazi, or they'll give you all kinds of names, and you're unpatriotic. That's the thing. When I wanted to bring the troops home, I was unpatriotic and I didn't care about the troops. I says, how could you argue that? I just want to bring them home so they don't get killed.
Yeah, more troops donated to you than any other presidential candidate. People forget about that. And you were one of the only anti-war voices out there that was finally getting at least a little bit of attention on the corporate media, even though it was skewed. Even though when you were polling high, they made sure that it looked like you were polling low. They played so many underhanded tricks against you. I was wondering, can you talk to that a little bit? And how do we navigate this media sphere when they control the narrative and they're playing so unfair?
Well, I resort to something that I find my comfort zone, and that is that I'm not there. I don't have the ability, nor is the support there to really change it. I want to audit the Fed so people understand it. I don't say, okay, the litmus test, if you care about anything at all, you have to sign on to my bill that the Federal Reserve is abolished in 2 weeks. So I wanted people just have to, discuss it, and that's what happens. It gets turned down. We have opportunity. We could talk to China a lot more. I thought it was pretty exciting when the great Nixon decided to sneak over to China, and it was an exciting time. People think, boy, maybe they will change, and they did. But the big problem is that we won't admit is they became pretty darn good at capitalism. They sold us stuff and they took our money and invested it. And what do? We steal the money from the people, and then we invest it to the military-industrial complex to go over and drop bombs on people. Then we say, I wonder why they don't like us.
I've been thinking lately if we could repurpose our military-industrial complex to start building drones by the tens of millions, and then take them out into space and blow them up for training, and then put onboard artificial intelligence on the drones. The drones can tell us what we're doing wrong, make us better at fighting drone swarms, and then we can not blow people up. Because I think I still want to make it profitable for Lockheed Martin, but I don't want to hurt the people with Lockheed Martin.
Okay, let me try. I think you bring up an actual interesting point, and I'll rephrase it. I think I understand. The military-industrial complex is going to move towards the path of least resistance, and that is they need war to stay in power and and they want war. So they lobby for war. They get more money from the government. So what we need is to divert their profits into nonsense, like building drones in outer space, so they keep getting lucrative contracts, but eventually fizzle out of existence because they're being given money for the government to do literally nothing. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.